So I'm here at Norfolk Arena for round 2 of the 2012 Maxxis British Drift Championships. The sun's up now, but once it gets dark, it's ready for the night fight.
So we're going to talk about the basics of drifting. Some people at home don't know what a drift car is. Basically, this is a Nissan S13. It's powered by a 2-litre Nissan SR20 engine. It's got a lot of internal upgrades, including a turbo. They modified the steering to get extra lock. A lot of the drift cars that compete in the British Drift Championship, in fact every drift car, needs to have safety equipment. So let's look at some of the internals inside the car. Okay, a big thing for drift cars to compete in the BDC is a roll cage. This is going to save you if you ever roll your car or crash your car or get T-boned. Another main safety feature are seats. These are very important. These hold you in as you're being thrown around in the car while the drifting is transitioning from left to right, from right to left. These seats hold you in. All the drift cars have a hydraulic handbrake. Basically, as soon as you pull the handbrake, it locks up the rear wheels for easy entry and correction during the drift. All drift cars in the BDC are rear-wheel drive. It has to be a rear-wheel drive to be able to drift because you use the right foot to actually power the car out, step the car out to continue on the drift. You also have suspension setups. You can set them high, low, soft or hard, depending on what track it is. So these cars all have coilover suspension to be able to set the car up for different tracks. So that's all you need, guys, to drift in the BDC. You just need a rear-wheel drive car, Nissan S13, pick them up quite cheap, a few internal upgrades on the engine, a few upgrades on the steering, and that's all you need, really, to be able to compete in the BDC. It's easy done.
So before the battles, we need to limit all 3 classes of 32 drivers in each class down to the top 16. And to limit them down, all drivers have to qualify. Spread around the track are clipping points. Either clipping points on the outside for a rear bumper or a clipping point on the inside of the corner for a front bumper, and basically the driver has to get either the front bumper or the rear bumper as close to those clipping points as possible. Not only are the drivers judged on how close they get within these clipping points, they're also judged on speed, angle and overall control of the drift. Each driver from all 3 classes gets 3 chances at a qualifying run. If at any point during these qualifying runs, either in the first, second or third run, they spin, that is classed as a 0 and nil, and that run will not count. So all these drivers are going to push these cars to the limits to try and wow the judges as best they can. So there you have it, that's our top 16 qualifiers of all 3 classes.
So I'm here with Hugo Fernandez from Team Red Mist. Hugo, you've come all the way from Portugal. You excited for today?
I'm super excited for today. I had lots of engine problems yesterday, but hopefully they are all solved, and I'll try my best. If I will only quit if the car stops.
And so you're playing in semi-pro and pro this time?
Yeah, battles in semi-pro and pro this weekend.
Is there a big difference when you're going from semi-pro to pro? Did you see that?
Yeah, there is a big difference. Like, obviously the driving is a lot, when you're in the battles, the driving's a lot closer. You're a lot closer to each other. It's up in your game by another step, obviously.
So now I'm with Wes Keating, one of the Super Pro drivers. Wes, how's it feel on the track today?
Yeah, quite good. I haven't been here before. It's our first time to compete here. When we had to look at the track first, it looked quite small in comparison to the rest of it, but it's good fun out there. It really is.
And how's the car feeling? Is it all right?
It's okay. We had the correct diff choice with a 3.7 ratio. Some of the guys have a higher diff, some of them lower diffs, but I'm quite happy with the setup we have at the moment. It seems to be working well.
Car's been holding up pretty well. Had some problems after round 1. Just melted the piston, but put a new engine in, had it all tuned back up again. It seems to be running sweet today. So
tell me a bit about your new engine.
Yeah, we bought a second-hand engine, 1994 BMW 740 engine. We put it in, bolted the supercharger up using VEMS management and bigger injectors, M5 clutch and flywheel. Should be producing around 500 horsepower and 520 foot-pounds of torque.
So this is the guy that everyone wants to impress. I'm here with Brett Castle, one of the judges for the Maxxis British Drift Championship. Brett, Great to have you. Could you walk me through how you judge the battles?
Okay, today we're going to do it slightly differently because we're going to run the lead car, which is the car in front. We'll be running the qualifying line, so he'll be doing essentially what he was doing yesterday. Now it's up to the chase car, which is the second car, to keep close within 5 metres. If I'm getting to keep it within 5 metres, mimic the car in front, keep close on his door, switch round, obviously following perfectly through the lap to the finish.
From coming from being a driver to now being a judge, can you see a big step up in the quality of the driving?
Yes, there's potentially some excellent drivers in the lower groups as well as the Super Pro, which is the most experienced professional drivers.
So, semi-pro class battle for third and fourth. We've got Owen Taylor as the lead car, Jay Green as the chase car. So into the first corner they go. Both of them very good speed and angle as they come around the first section. They're going to transition now into the second section and send the car out wide, which is the line that the judges wanted to see. Jay Green seems to be just keeping that gap ever so tight as they come around the transition zone going into section 3 now. Jay Green putting the power down again there, just closing that gap ever so slightly, almost pushing Owen Taylor around the last section. So around the last section they come and they go over the line with Jay Green closing that gap. So they're going to swap around now. Jay Green's going to take the lead car, Owen Taylor's going to take the chase car position. Owen Taylor with a late initiation coming into the first corner there. Then again they're both going to transition now into section 2 and send the cars right out wide. But Owen Taylor just seems to be struggling just to close that gap as close as Jay Green was in the first battle. So into the last section they go. Jay Green's got his foot to the floor. Owen Taylor just creating a big gap. Maybe struggling to put the power down, I don't know. But Jay Green seems to be put the power down. And over the line, Jay Green takes the win. So this is what the semi-pros work for. This is the final of the semi-pro. Gareth Taylor in the green S14 against Brian Egan in the Honda-powered Toyota A86. So into the second section they go. Gareth Taylor just pushing it ever so slightly wide there just onto the shale. Brian Egan taking the line that the judges wanted to see. He's closing that gap just as he comes through the transition zone into section 3. He just needs to put the foot down on that A86 just to close that gap ever so slightly coming around the last section. But both drivers seem to be consistently driving well into this battle 1. So it'll come down to battle 2. So on the line they go. They're going to switch around. Brian Egan's going to take the lead car in the A86 against Gareth Taylor as the chase car. So around the first section they come. Gareth Taylor just slacking behind a little bit as they come through the transition zone into section 2. Brian Egan with loads of angle there as he comes around that corner. Gareth Taylor just struggling just to keep up with Brian Egan as they come through the transition zone into corner 3. So there's a huge gap being created there, which will go in a massive favour from the judges for Brian Egan. And Brian Egan takes the win. So into the pro class we go. We've got Jamie Kenyon as the lead car. This is the battle for third and fourth against Christian Lewis in the red Nissan Skyline R33. So into the transition zone into section 2. Jamie Kenyon just pulling away ever so slightly with loads of speed and angle coming into section 3 now. Both of them with a very smooth transition. Christian Lewis just slacking behind a little bit. Look at the gap on that Jamie Kenyon has created coming into the last section now. He's got his foot to the floor, battering the limiter. Christian Lewis just struggling to keep up in battle 1. So battle 2, we're going to swap round. Christian Lewis is the lead car, Jamie Kenyon is the chase car. And Jamie Kenyon is pushing Christian Lewis around that first corner. So transitioning very smooth into section 2. Round the corner they come as Jamie Kenyon is just trying to close that gap ever so slightly. Look how close he is as they transition into section 3. Jamie Kenyon taking a bit of an inside corner there though as they come round the last section, but because Jamie Kenyon was all over Christian Lewis, Jamie Kenyon takes that number 3 spot. So pro class final, we've got Matt Camplin against Paul Murphy. Matt Camplin making a huge error on that first corner. Paul Murphy having to let off the power and just avoid Matt Camplin as he comes around that first corner, but he's continuing his drift on. All he has to do is finish the lap and he'll gain massive advantage from the judges. So switch him around. Paul Murphy is the lead car, Matt Camplin is the chase car. So Matt Camplin's got everything to play for now as they come around this first section. Paul Murphy smoking up those tyres as he goes through the transition zone into section 2. Loads of angle there from Matt Camplin, manages to save himself with that extra lock on that steering rack as they come through the transition into section 3. Now Matt Camplin just struggling to catch Paul Murphy up as Paul Murphy is battering that limiter, putting the power down. Look at the smoke coming from them tyres as they cross the line. Paul Murphy taking the win.
Welcome back to part 2. So, we've seen the semi-pros and the pros, so now it's time for the big boys. Bring on the super pros.
Super Pro class, we've got Shane Lynch in Stephen Biagioni's Team Jap Speed car after snapping his drive shaft in practice against Barry Leonard. Barry Leonard is the chase car, sorry. Shane Lynch is the lead car in the Subaru. So into the second section they go, both nice speed and angle, but Barry Leonard just pushing Shane Lynch round that second section, inches away from each other during the transition, then coming into the last section. But Shane Lynch is just smoking up those Maxxis tyres as they come around the last section, but just could not shake Barry Leonard off during the whole of that run. So they're going to swap around. Barry Leonard is now going to become the lead car. Shane Lynch in the Jap Speed Subaru as the chase car. So into the first corner they go. Both very committed as they come around the first section. Good same speed and angle as they're now going to transition into the second section and send it out nice and wide. There's a gap being created there. Barry Leonard just putting the power down, making that gap ever so bigger as they transition into section 3. Remember, this is probably like the 4th or 5th time that Shane Lynch has ever driven this car, so massive respect to Shane Lynch. But due to Barry Leonard driving completely amazing through both runs, he takes the win. On to the next semi-pro battle for the top 8. We've got Mark Looney in the 1000 brake horsepower Team Sats Motorsport Supra against Paul Smith in the Nissan S15 from Team Jap Speed. So both of them with massive speed and angle going into the first section, transitioning into section 2. Paul Smith just struggling just to close that gap ever so slightly, but he's going to put his foot to the floor now and close this gap as much as possible as both of them smoking up those Maxxis tyres as they come round the last section. This is getting closer and closer as Paul Smith's trying to put the power down, trying to catch up that Supra as they cross the line. So into battle number 2 this will go. So they're going to switch around. Paul Smith in the Team Jap Speed S15 is going to take the lead car. Mark Looney is the chase car in the Team Sats Motorsport Supra. So loads of angle there from Paul Smith. Bit of a shallow angle from Mark Looney though as they come around the transition zone into section 2. So as they go into section 2, Paul Smith with loads of angle again, more than Mark Looney as they transition into section 3. This gap is getting bigger and bigger. Mark Looney just running a shallower angle, trying to catch Paul Smith up as much as possible. Paul Smith just putting the power down and smoking up those tyres as he crosses the line and takes the win. So we've got yet another top 8 battle for Super Pro. We've got Wayne Kieber in the Team Sats Motorsport Sora against Stephen Bagsy Biagioni in the Team Jap Speed Subaru. So into the first corner they go, loads of speed and loads of angle. Bagsy just going to put the power down now to try and catch Wayne Kieber up as much as possible as he was trying to open a gap going into section 1 there. So coming into section 3, Bagsy's now going to put the power down to try and close the gap as much as possible. Here he goes, he's put the power down, he's catching him up, and he is literally wing on wing as they come round this last section in battle 1. So we're going to switch around battle 2. Bagsy's going to take the lead car. Wayne Keeber is the chase car into the first corner. They go. Huge handbrake from Baggsy into the first corner. Loads of angle as Wayne Keeber is struggling just to catch Baggsy up as Baggsy just puts the foot to the floor during that transition zone going into section 2. So is the gap gonna get closed by Wayne Keeber? Can he put the power down? Can he put the grip down? But no, that gap is just getting bigger and bigger as they come around the last section. Baggsy with a consistent drift all the way around, smoking up their Maxxis tyres again, and over the line, Baggsy taking the win. Last of the top 8 battles, we've got Stephen Moore in the Team Sats Nissan S14 against Danny O'Brien in the very, very loud looking Pure Performance UK S14. So into the first corner they go. Danny O'Brien making loads of errors in that first section. Steve Moore just continuing his drift nice around the first and second section. Into the third section they go. Load way offline for Dan O'Brien as they come into the third section. A bit of a straight then into the third section again. Stephen Moore just putting the foot to the floor. Loads of angle. Again, Dan O'Brien making a massive error. He's going to be kicking himself in that car. Into battle 2, they're going to switch around. Danny O'Brien's going to take the lead car. Bit of a late start there for Steve Moore, maybe because of the way Danny O'Brien was driving in the first battle. He's just going to give him a bit of gap, and maybe he's going to close that gap as he makes the way around the track. So Danny O'Brien, nice consistently, good angle, good speed coming into section 2. So Stephen Moore just catching him up ever so slightly as Dan O'Brien just makes a slightly error coming into section 3. So as they come round, Stephen Moore's going to try and close the gap as much as possible as they come round this last corner. But not a bad run from both drivers, but due to the first run, Stephen Moore takes the win. So we've limited the top 8 into the semi-finals, and the semi-finalists are Barry Leonard, Paul Smith, Stephen Biagioni and Stephen Moore. Let's see some semi-final battles. So here we have again Team Jap Speed driver Paul Smith against WKD Drift Team Barry Leonard. Into the first corner they go. Paul Smith is the lead car, Barry Leonard is the chase car. Barry Leonard just putting a bit of a shallow angle in there just to keep up with Paul Smith, as Paul Smith running exactly the same line the judges wanted to see. As you can see, Paul Smith's got a bit more angle there than Barry Leonard is. He's trying to push him round. So Barry Leonard is running a shallower angle than Paul Smith. Because Paul Smith's running more of an angle, the judges will give them a massive advantage for the more angle and more smoke and more speed as he comes round that last section. So it's going to go into battle number 2. They're going to switch around. Barry Leonard is now the lead car, Paul Smith is the chase car. So into the first corner they go. Paul Smith taking just a shallower angle again there just to try and keep up. He's going to have to try and put the power down and close that gap as much as possible. He has done. He's caught Barry up. They've got exactly the same angle there as they come round the second section through the transition zone. Both very smooth transitioning as Paul Smith just tries to push Barry Leonard around that last section as much as possible. But due to battle number 1, Paul Smith will go into the final and Barry Leonard will go into the battle for 3rd and 4th. Who's going to go against Paul Smith in the final? We've got Baggsy, Stephen Biagioni in the Team Jap Speed Subaru as the lead car against Stephen Moore in the Team Sats Motorsport Red S14. So whoever wins this goes into the final against Paul Smith, and whoever loses goes into the battle for 3rd and 4th against Barry Leonard. So round the second section they come. Baggsy with loads of angle there as they come round into the transition zone for section 3, but Stephen Moore is just closing that gap ever so slightly as he's trying to keep that rear bumper in sight as much as possible. Stephen Moore so close there as they come over the line. Absolutely brilliant driving from both drivers. So we're going to switch them around now. Battle number 2. Remember, this is the semi-final. This is to go into the final. Stephen Moore is the lead car. Loads of gap there on Stephen Biagioni as they go into the first corner. Baggs is going to have to try and close that gap as much as possible as Stephen Moore transitions fast through that section into section number 2. Baggsy just struggling to keep up with Stephen Moore as they come through the transition zone into section 3. Baggsy just cannot close that gap as Stephen Moore just puts the power down as they come around the last section, and Stephen Moore takes the win and goes into the final against Baggsy's teammate Paul Smith. battle for third and fourth. We've seen these drivers again. It's Stephen Baggsy Biaggioni in the Team Jap Speed Subaru against Barry Leonard in the Team WKDS 14. This is the last chance now to get on that number 3 on the podium. So around the first section they go. Barry Leonard on Baggsy all the way around that first section. Loads of angle from both drivers as they come round the second section over the transition zone into section 3. Barry Leonard's going to want to try and close that gap as much as possible as they come round section 3. He has done. He's near enough pushing Baggsy around with the same angle and same speed as they come over the line. This was very close driving from both drivers, but looks like it's going to come down to battle 2. So off they go. Barry Leonard with an early start there off the line as they come into section 1. Stephen Biaggioni is the chase car in the Subaru as they come round the first section. Baggsy just trailing behind ever so slightly as they transition into section 3. Baggsy taking a bit of a shallow angle there coming into section 2 just to catch Barry Leonard up as much as possible. Foot's flat to the floor as they transition. A little bit of an error there from Baggsy as he lets off the power with a huge flame coming out the exhaust. But Barry Leonard was on it all that round, all battle 1 and all battle 2, taking number 3 on that podium. So this is what the drivers work hard for. This is the Super Pro battle. Stephen Moore, Team Sats Motorsport in the red S14 as the lead car against Paul Smith in the Team Jap Speed S15. So this is sudden death. They have done 2 one more times. The judges have to make a decision now. So into the second section they go. Loads of speed, loads of angle, exactly the same speed and angle though as they transition now into the last section. Stephen Moore just creating that gap. Paul Smith just struggling to close it as they come around the last section. Lights flashing there from Stephen Moore's car as they come over the line. So there's a bit of a gap there from the first run. Let's see what happens in the second run as they switch around. Team Jap Speed driver Paul Smith lead car, Team Sats Motorsport Stephen Moore as the chase car. So into the first section they go. Stephen Moore just with a little bit more angle and speed as they come round. He was closing that gap on Paul Smith as they transition now into section 2. He is all over Paul Smith as they come round now through the transition zone into section 3. Stephen Moore is closing that gap ever so slightly as they come round the last section. Stephen Moore is all over Paul Smith as they come round the last section. Throughout the whole of these battles, Stephen Moore got the advantage from the judges from exceptional driving, and he takes the win at round 2 of the Maxxis British Drift Championship.
So I'm here with Steve Moore, who's just finished the second round of the British Drift Championship. Steve, how did that go for you?
It was absolutely awesome. I loved the twin battles. It was a brilliant battle with Paul. An absolutely epic weekend. I'd like to thank everybody that put on this event and all the team that actually helped out for the whole weekend.
So how hard is it? What are the nerves like when you went to 2 one more times? What was going through your mind at that moment in time?
I was just trying to keep calm, really. Just trying my best to cool the car down, just keep the tyres under control and just go for it.
Last time when I came over from Ireland, it was just a great event, had great fun, and to come over a second time, make the trip and be in the same position is just dream stuff. So just had a great fun, and it was a great track. We really got to battle close and just had great fun.
Unbelievable. Words can't describe it. Delighted. Really delighted.
And after all the hard work that you've obviously put into the car,
we had a lot of trouble today with the car. We broke 2 half shafts, and we thought it was the gearbox, so we stripped the gearbox and the clutch out of it, but turned out it wasn't. It was the 2 half shafts, so we got a end of a half shaft off a lad. And
I know. So you ready for round 3?
I'll try my best.
So Anthony, you've had such a great day here at Norfolk Arena. What do you make of it all?
Well, it's only round 2 of the Maxxis British Drift Championship. We've just seen some absolutely awesome driving, including the final of the Super Pro going to sudden death. We've never seen that happen before. 2 one more times, then a sudden death, and it was absolutely brilliant driving. Some of the best driving I've seen up to now. It's only round 2, so the points have now been switched around in the tables, and it's looking quite interesting. So we're going to take it to round 3, and it's going to be absolutely brilliant. It's so close at the top at the moment.
Talking about round 3, it's only 3 weeks away and we can't wait. So remember, go hard or go home.